Welcome. I hope you had a good day. It's time to relax. Let's begin our journey with the chimpanzees. Picture this. You are a primate who shares 98% of your DNA with humans. You have hands that can grip tools, a brain that understands politics better than most elected officials, and a social life so complicated it would require a flowchart to explain at parties. You live in the forests of Tanzania, where the trees are tall, the fruit is seasonal, and the drama never stops. Welcome to life as a chimpanzee, where every day is either a calculated negotiation or complete chaos, sometimes both before breakfast. This is Gombe, a patch of forest along the shores of Lake Tanganyika in East Africa. The landscape rises from the lake in steep valleys and ridges, covered in dense forest that gives way to woodlands on the higher slopes. Streams cut through the valleys, providing water year-round, though in the dry season they slow to a trickle. It is a beautiful place, the kind of setting that looks peaceful until you realize it is home to one of the most politically complex societies on the planet. We are in July, deep into the dry season. The rains ended months ago and the forest has transformed. The canopy, usually lush and dripping, is now sparse. Many trees have dropped their leaves to conserve water. Fruit, the primary food source for chimpanzees, has become scarce. What little remains hangs high in scattered trees, forcing the chimps to travel farther each day, work harder for every meal, and compete more intensely for what is available. Hunger sharpens everything in chimpanzee society. Alliances matter more. Aggression rises. The social order, always present, becomes impossible to ignore. Our story centers on a community of about 40 chimpanzees, though we will focus on 5 individuals whose lives intertwine through the seasons ahead. First is the alpha male. We will call him the leader. He is in his mid-20s, the prime of chimpanzee life, and he has held his position for 2 years. That might not sound like much, but in chimp politics, 2 years at the top is an achievement. Leadership is not inherited. It is earned through intelligence, physical strength, strategic alliances, and a personality that can intimidate without constantly resorting to violence. The leader is large, probably weighing around 130 pounds, most of it muscle. His hair is dark and thick, graying slightly around his shoulders, which is common for males his age. When he moves through the forest, the others notice, not because he is loud or aggressive, though he can be both when needed, but because his presence carries weight. He has mastered the art of looking calm while simultaneously communicating that challenging him would be a poor life decision. It is impressive and exhausting. Being alpha means constantly managing relationships, reinforcing alliances, watching for threats, and occasionally reminding everyone why you are in charge. The second chimp in our group is the strategist, the leader's closest ally. He is slightly smaller, maybe 110 pounds, but what he lacks in size he compensates for with cunning. The strategist has been allied with the leader since before the leader became alpha, and their partnership is the foundation of the current power structure. He does not challenge for the top position. He does not need to. His role as the second-ranking male gives him access to food, mates, and influence without the constant pressure of defending leadership. It is, objectively, an excellent arrangement for someone who prefers strategy over spectacle. The third member of our caste is the matriarch, the highest-ranking female in the community. She is in her late 30s, which makes her one of the older adults, and she has raised 4 offspring to adulthood. This is significant. Female chimpanzees do not compete for dominance the way males do, but rank still matters. Higher-ranking females get better access to food and safer positions in the group. The matriarch achieved her status through a combination of strong family connections, social intelligence, and a temperament that the males have learned not to provoke unnecessarily. She is not aggressive, but she does not tolerate disrespect either, and she has perfected the art of the disapproving stare, which works surprisingly well on individuals 3 times her size. Fourth is the youngster, the matriarch's juvenile son, about 7 years old. He is in that awkward phase between infancy and adolescence, where he wants independence but still needs his mother. He spends his days learning the complex skills that adult chimps make look easy: how to crack nuts with stones, which trees fruit when, how to read social situations so you do not accidentally insult someone twice your size. He is enthusiastic, clumsy, and deeply confident that he understands things he absolutely does not understand. Watching him is like watching someone try to parallel park for the first time while insisting they do not need help. Finally, there is the outsider, a young adult male around 17 years old at the bottom of the male hierarchy. He is thin, still filling out, with nervous energy that makes him move in quick, jerky motions. He desperately wants to rise in rank, but he lacks the physical strength to challenge higher-ranking males and has not yet built the alliances that would allow him to do so strategically. He spends most of his time traveling on the edge of the group, watching, learning, waiting for opportunities that rarely come. It is not an easy position. Being low-ranking means eating last, mating least, and receiving regular reminders that you are not particularly valued. But it is also how every male starts, and some patience, intelligence, and luck will be required if he wants to change his circumstances. The dry season tests everyone, but it tests the outsider most of all. It is early morning, and the community is waking in the trees where they built their nests the night before. Chimpanzees construct fresh sleeping nests each evening, weaving branches together into platforms about 20 to 40 feet up. It takes them about 5 minutes. They do not reuse nests because, frankly, hygiene. Chimps are not exactly tidy sleepers, and a used nest quickly becomes a place you would rather not revisit. The leader wakes first, stretching in a way that suggests his back might be bothering him, which is understandable given that he sleeps on a pile of sticks. He surveys the area from his nest, checking for anything unusual. Nothing. Just another morning in the forest. He climbs down slowly, deliberately, conserving energy. In the dry season, every movement counts. The others begin descending as well. The matriarch climbs down with the youngster, following close behind, still unsteady on some branches, his confidence outpacing his coordination. The strategist descends near the leader, the 2 of them exchanging soft grunts, a morning greeting that also reinforces their alliance. The outsider waits until most of the others are down before leaving his nest. Low-ranking males have learned that staying out of the way until everyone settles is often the safest strategy. Once on the ground, the group begins grooming. This is crucial. Grooming is not just about removing parasites and dirt, though that is part of it. It is social currency. Chimps groom each other to build alliances, reduce tension, and reinforce bonds. The leader is immediately groomed by the strategist, a daily ritual that strengthens their partnership. Other males approach and groom the leader as well, quick sessions that acknowledge his status. The matriarch grooms one of her adult daughters while the youngster attempts to groom his older sibling and mostly just pokes him with fingers that have not yet learned subtlety. The outsider grooms no one and is groomed by no one. He sits apart pretending this does not bother him. It does. After about 30 minutes, the leader stands and begins moving. This is the signal. When the alpha moves, the group follows. Today they are heading toward a section of forest where a few fig trees might still have fruit. It is a gamble. The trees were picked over days ago, but sometimes fruit ripens in waves, and chimps have excellent memories for which trees produce what and when. The community travels in a loose formation. The leader and strategist move near the front, setting the pace. The matriarch and her family group travel in the middle, the safest position. Other females with infants cluster together, protecting the young. The outsider trails behind, along with a few other low-ranking males, close enough to remain part of the group, but far enough to avoid conflict. They move through the forest with practiced efficiency, using game trails when available, pushing through undergrowth when necessary. The terrain is steep. Gombe is all ridges and valleys, and traveling means constant climbing or descending. The chimps barely notice. They have been walking these paths their entire lives. After about an hour, they reach the fig trees. The leader climbs first, followed quickly by the strategist and several other high-ranking males. This is where rank matters most. The best feeding spots go to those with status. The leader positions himself in the crown of the tree where the densest fruit clusters remain. The strategist takes a spot nearby but slightly lower. Other males arrange themselves according to their rank, a clear hierarchy visible in who feeds where. The females wait below until the males settle, then begin climbing to feed on whatever remains accessible. The matriarch, due to her rank, can feed relatively close to the males without harassment. Other females are less fortunate and must navigate carefully, avoiding positions that might be interpreted as challenges. The youngster climbs near his mother, watching the adults, learning the unwritten rules that govern every interaction. The outsider waits at the base of the tree. By the time low-ranking males are allowed to feed, there is rarely much left. He watches the others eating above, his frustration visible in the tension of his posture. Eventually, he climbs to the outer branches where a few overripe figs remain. It is something, but barely. He will spend the rest of the day hungry. The feeding session lasts about 2 hours. Figs are eaten messily, juice dripping, seeds scattered. The chimps make quiet vocalizations of contentment, soft grunts and murmurs that signal satisfaction. When the fruit is gone, they descend and resume traveling. The pattern repeats throughout the day. Travel, feed, rest, travel again. The dry season has made this routine more difficult. Food is scattered and unpredictable. What would take a few hours in the wet season now consumes the entire day. By mid-afternoon, tension rises. Everyone is hungry, tired, and irritable. This is when conflicts erupt. The outsider makes a mistake. He approaches a termite mound where several females are fishing for insects, using small sticks. Termite fishing is a learned skill, one of the famous tools using behaviors that chimps are known for. They select thin branches, strip off leaves, and insert them into termite holes. The insects latch onto the stick, and the chimp pulls it out and eats them. It is time-consuming, but provides protein when fruit is scarce. The outsider wants to fish for termites, but he has chosen poorly. The matriarch is already there, focused on her work. She does not appreciate the interruption. She turns and gives him a look that clearly communicates that his presence is neither wanted nor tolerated. He hesitates, unsure whether to retreat or insist on staying. It is a split-second decision, but he chooses wrong. He reaches for a stick near her position. The matriarch screams, a sharp, piercing sound that echoes through the forest. The youngster immediately adds his voice, supporting his mother. Within seconds, the leader and strategist arrive, charging toward the scene with hair bristled, making themselves look larger. They do not know what happened. They do not need to. The matriarch has high status, and defending her reinforces the social order. The outsider recognizes his error immediately and flees, scrambling up the nearest tree while vocalizing submissively, a series of high-pitched sounds that communicate surrender. The leader does not pursue. The point has been made. The group settles, but the outsider remains in the tree for another 20 minutes, waiting until everyone forgets about him before quietly descending. He has learned something today. Proximity to high-ranking females requires caution. Mistakes are not tolerated. As evening approaches, the group begins looking for a place to nest. They choose a grove of tall trees near a stream, a favorite site that offers safety and accessibility. The leader selects his tree first, then the others spread out, each choosing a spot. Nest building happens quickly, each chimp bending branches inward, weaving them together into a stable platform. Mothers construct nests for their infants, but older juveniles like the youngster build their own, though his efforts are less refined. His nest looks functional, but appears as though constructed by someone who only half listened to the instructions. It will hold, probably. The outsider builds his nest on the periphery of the group, as always. Even in sleep, hierarchy persists. As darkness falls, the forest grows quiet. The chimps settle into their nests, shifting occasionally to find comfortable positions. In the distance, a leopard calls, a sound that sharpens attention briefly before the group relaxes again. They are safe in the trees, beyond reach of most predators. The youngster shifts in his nest, still adjusting branches that refuse to cooperate. He has been building nests for 2 years now, but his construction skills remain questionable. His mother watches from her nearby nest with what appears to be patient resignation. She has raised 4 offspring, and all of them struggled with nest building at this age. It is a rite of passage, like learning to ride a bicycle, except the bicycle is made of tree branches, and the consequences of failure include falling 20 feet onto hard ground. The matriarch has already settled, her nest perfectly constructed, demonstrating the expertise that comes from 4 decades of practice. She grooms her arms briefly, removing bits of bark and dirt from the day's travel, then closes her eyes. Sleep comes easily when you hold high rank. Less stress, better access to food, fewer worries about being attacked. It is one of the benefits of her position, earned through years of strategic social navigation and the good fortune of being born to a high-ranking mother. In chimpanzee society, family connections matter tremendously for females. Daughters often inherit their mother's rank, benefiting from established relationships and alliances built over generations. The youngster will not inherit status the same way. Male chimpanzees must earn their position through entirely different means. Physical strength, strategic intelligence, the ability to form and maintain alliances with other males. His mother's rank helps him now, while he is young, but once he reaches adolescence, he will be on his own. It is a system that makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, but seems designed to maximize teenage angst. Across the grove, the leader rests in his nest with the particular stillness of someone who is not actually asleep, but deeply unwilling to move. His day has been long. Every interaction, every feeding session, every moment of travel required awareness and calculation. As alpha, he must monitor everything: the mood of the group, the behavior of potential challengers, the locations of resources, the needs of allies. It is exhausting work, though he makes it look effortless. That is part of the job. An alpha who appears stressed or uncertain invites challenges. The strategist has built his nest about 15 feet from the leader, close enough to demonstrate their alliance, but far enough to respect personal space. Their partnership is built on mutual benefit and genuine compatibility. The strategist provides tactical support, helps coordinate group movements, and backs the leader in conflicts. In return, he enjoys high rank without the constant pressure of being the primary target for challengers. It is a functional relationship that has served them both well. Some alpha partnerships are tense, built purely on temporary convenience. This one appears solid, reinforced by years of cooperation and shared success. The outsider lies in his nest on the far edge of the grove, staring up through the branches at the darkening sky. He is hungry. The figs he managed to eat this afternoon were barely enough to take the edge off, and his stomach makes small noises of complaint. This is normal for him during the dry season. Low-ranking males eat last and least, which means they are often hungry. It creates a difficult cycle. Insufficient food means less energy for social maneuvering and alliance building. Less energy means fewer opportunities to improve rank. Lower rank means worse access to food. He understands this intellectually, but has not yet figured out how to break the pattern. His best strategy, probably, is patience. Wait for opportunities, avoid conflicts he cannot win. Gradually build relationships with other low-ranking males who might one day become allies in a coalition. It is not an exciting plan, but exciting plans tend to result in injuries for chimps his age. Slow and careful seems wiser. He shifts in his nest, trying to find a position that does not press on his empty stomach, and eventually closes his eyes. Sleep is easier than thinking about tomorrow. The forest around them continues its nightly symphony. Insects call from the undergrowth, their rhythms rising and falling. A bush baby vocalizes somewhere in the darkness, a high-pitched sound that carries through the trees. Fruit bats fly overhead, their wings making soft, whooshing sounds as they travel between feeding sites. The stream below gurgles over stones, its flow reduced to a fraction of wet season levels, but still persistent. This forest has supported chimpanzees for thousands of years. Long before researchers arrived to study them, long before humans gave names to valleys and ridges, chimps lived here, following the same patterns, facing the same challenges. The dry season has always been hard. The competition for scarce fruit has always sharpened social tensions. Hierarchies have always mattered. What changes is the individuals, each generation replacing the last, each chimp navigating the ancient social structures with their own personality and strategy. The leader was once like the outsider, young and low-ranking, struggling for position. The matriarch was once like her juvenile son, learning skills and making mistakes. The patterns persist, even as the players change. In a few years, the leader may no longer be alpha. Someone younger, stronger, or more strategically brilliant will challenge him, and he will either defend his position or lose it. Such is the nature of male hierarchies. Nothing lasts forever, especially not power. The matriarch, meanwhile, will likely remain high-ranking for the rest of her life. Female hierarchies are more stable, less violent, based more on family connections than physical dominance. She has daughters who will carry on her lineage, potentially maintaining her family's status for another generation. The youngster, currently asleep in his questionable nest, will face years of challenge ahead. Adolescence will bring growth, strength, and the awkward realization that he must now compete with males who were once his playmates. He will form friendships and rivalries, learn politics and strategy, make alliances and enemies. Some males navigate this successfully. Others spend their entire lives at the bottom of the hierarchy. The difference often comes down to intelligence and personality as much as physical strength. The outsider represents the harder path, the struggle of males without strong family connections or natural allies. But even difficult paths sometimes lead to success. Chimpanzee society rewards persistence and strategic thinking. A low-ranking male who watches carefully, learns from mistakes, and chooses alliances wisely can rise over time. It requires patience and intelligence, and a willingness to endure years of difficulty. Not every chimp possesses these qualities. Those who do sometimes surprise everyone, including themselves. The night deepens, and the temperature drops slightly, though not much. Gombe sits near the equator where seasonal temperature changes are subtle. The dry season is defined more by lack of rain than by cold. The chimps sleep comfortably in their nests, their bodies adapted to these conditions, their thick hair providing insulation. Above them, the stars emerge as the last light fades. The same stars that guided human ancestors across this landscape millions of years ago. The same stars that shine on chimpanzees in forests across Africa, from Tanzania to Uganda to Guinea. All of them living similar lives, facing similar challenges, solving problems with similar intelligence. They are our closest living relatives, separated by only a few million years of evolution. Looking at them is like looking at what we might have been, or perhaps what we still are beneath the layers of culture and technology. They remind us that intelligence, emotion, social complexity, these are not uniquely human traits. They are primate traits, shared across species, expressed in different ways but fundamentally similar. The forest sleeps, or at least appears to. In reality, the night is busy with activity. Nocturnal animals emerge to hunt and feed. Predators patrol, searching for unwary prey. But high in their nests, the chimpanzees rest safely, their position in the canopy providing protection that ground sleeping would not. The first day of our journey ends as it began, with survival achieved, relationships tested, and the social order intact. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, more competition, and further tests of the bonds that hold this community together. This is life in the dry season. Every day is a negotiation between hunger and hierarchy, between cooperation and conflict. The chimps navigate this world with intelligence and adaptability that is remarkable, even by primate standards. They are not humans, but they are close enough that watching them feels like looking into a mirror that reflects something both familiar and strange. They solve problems, form alliances, hold grudges, show compassion, and occasionally make decisions that seem designed purely to cause drama. They are complicated, messy, brilliant creatures, and their year is just beginning. Morning arrives with the gradual lightening of the sky, that soft transition from darkness to gray to the warm colors of dawn. The chimps wake slowly, stretching in their nests, yawning with mouths that display impressive canines. Chimpanzee yawns are not subtle. They are elaborate displays involving teeth that could easily remove fingers, though they rarely do, because chimps are generally more interested in using their teeth for eating than for dramatic effect. The leader wakes first again, a pattern established by routine and responsibility. He sits up in his nest, hair disheveled from sleep, looking remarkably unimpressive for someone who controls the social hierarchy. This is the reality of wildlife. Even apex predators and dominant males wake up looking like they lost a fight with their pillow. He descends his tree carefully, testing branches before committing weight, moving with the caution of someone who understands that falling from 30 feet would significantly impact his ability to maintain alpha status. The others follow gradually. The strategist climbs down and immediately approaches the leader for morning grooming, their daily ritual that reinforces the alliance, keeping both of them near the top. The matriarch descends with the youngster behind her, the juvenile still half asleep and moving with the coordination of someone who has not fully loaded into consciousness. He nearly misses a branch. His mother pauses, watching with the expression of a parent who has seen this exact scenario play out hundreds of times and knows better than to intervene unless absolutely necessary. The youngster catches himself, glances around to see if anyone noticed, then continues climbing down as though nothing happened. Everyone noticed. No one cares. Chimps make mistakes constantly, especially young ones, and the group has learned that commenting on every mishap would consume the entire day. Once on the ground, grooming begins again. This is how chimpanzee mornings start, with social bonding that looks relaxing, but serves critical functions in maintaining relationships. The leader allows several individuals to groom him, reinforcing his position through the act of receiving attention. The strategist grooms carefully, removing small parasites and bits of debris while making soft grunts of contentment. Other males take turns, brief sessions that acknowledge rank without demanding too much of the leader's time. The matriarch grooms with one of her adult daughters, the two of them sitting close, their bond evident in the comfortable silence. Female relationships in chimpanzee communities are often understated but deeply important. While males compete openly for rank, females build quieter networks based on kinship and mutual support. These relationships matter especially during times of stress, when allies can mean the difference between successfully raising offspring or losing them to aggression or neglect. The youngster attempts to groom his older brother, who tolerates this for approximately 30 seconds before moving away. The older sibling has places to be and things to do, none of which involve being poked repeatedly by clumsy juvenile fingers. The youngster looks momentarily offended, then distracted by a butterfly, then forgets entirely about grooming in favor of trying to catch the insect. He fails. Butterflies are fast, and juvenile chimps are optimistic. The outsider sits alone again, watching the grooming sessions from a distance. This is his morning routine, observing social interactions he is not part of, waiting for the group to finish bonding so they can begin traveling. Low-ranking males spend significant time alone, not by choice, but by necessity. Approaching others without invitation risks aggression, and invitations rarely come when you hold no social value. It creates isolation that is both physical and emotional. Chimps are social animals who need interaction, yet the hierarchy system ensures that some individuals receive far less than they need. The outsider has learned to fill this gap by observing. He watches how the leader maintains his position, how the strategist supports without challenging, how the matriarch navigates interactions with males twice her size. He is learning, storing information, building a mental map of social dynamics that might someday prove useful, or might not. Success for low-ranking males is never guaranteed. After grooming ends, the leader stands and begins moving inland, away from the lake, heading toward higher elevations. The group follows, falling into their typical formation. Today's destination is a section of woodland where monkeys have been spotted. This is significant. Chimpanzees are primarily fruit eaters, but they are also opportunistic hunters. When fruit is scarce, meat becomes more important, providing protein and fat that plants cannot always supply. Hunting is a male activity, cooperative and strategic, requiring coordination and communication. It is also one of the few times when lower-ranking males can improve their status through demonstrated skill. A successful hunter gains prestige, meat to share, and the attention of the group. The outsider knows this. He has participated in hunts before, though never successfully. His inexperience and low rank mean he is usually assigned peripheral roles, chasing prey toward more experienced hunters rather than making kills himself. But he watches, he learns, and he hopes that today might be different. The journey takes them through dense forest, then into more open woodland, where the trees grow farther apart and the understory is thick with shrubs. The terrain continues its pattern of steep slopes and valleys, exhausting to climb but familiar to chimps who have traveled these paths since birth. After about 90 minutes, they spot movement in the canopy ahead. Monkeys. Red colobus, a medium-sized species that lives in the high branches and feeds on leaves and flowers. They are common in Gombe social animals that travel in groups of 20 to 40 individuals, and they are one of the primary prey species for chimpanzees. The leader stops observing. The rest of the group halts behind him, waiting. Hunting red colobus requires strategy. The monkeys are fast, agile, and extremely good at escaping through the canopy, where they can leap between trees that are too far apart for chimps to follow. Successful hunts require multiple hunters working together, cutting off escape routes, driving prey toward ambush positions. It is complicated, requires communication, and fails more often than it succeeds. The leader makes a soft vocalization, a sound that alerts the other males without alarming the monkeys. The strategist moves into position immediately, understanding the plan without explicit instruction. Two other adult males spread out to flanking positions. The outsider hovers at the edge, uncertain where he should go, waiting for direction that does not come. The females and juveniles remain back, watching but not participating. Female chimps rarely hunt, not because they cannot, but because the risks often outweigh benefits, especially for mothers with dependent offspring. The youngster watches intently, his eyes wide, absorbing details that he will need when he is old enough to join hunts. The leader begins climbing, moving slowly to avoid alerting the monkeys. The strategist climbs a different tree, positioning himself to block one escape route. The other males spread out further, creating a loose net. The monkeys have noticed the chimps now. They begin alarm calling sharp vocalizations that warn the group of danger. The calls spread through the troop, and the monkeys start moving, leaping between branches with impressive speed. The hunt is on. The leader accelerates, climbing fast, closing distance. The monkeys scatter in different directions exactly as expected. Several flee toward where the strategist waits, which is exactly the plan. He lunges, grabbing at a young monkey that miscalculated its jump. He catches it. The monkey screams, a high-pitched sound of distress that the outsider will remember for days. The strategist bites quickly, ending the struggle, then descends with his prize. The hunt lasted maybe 3 minutes from start to finish. Success. The group converges on the strategist, vocalizing excitedly, their calls mixing with the continued alarm calls of the escaping monkeys above. The leader arrives and immediately takes possession of the carcass. This is his right as alpha. Successful hunters often lose their kills to higher-ranking males, a system that seems unfair but reflects the hierarchy that governs everything. The strategist does not protest. He knew this would happen and accepts it because challenging the leader over meat is not worth the potential consequences. The leader begins eating, tearing into the carcass with impressive efficiency. Other high-ranking males cluster around, vocalizing, begging for shares. Begging in chimps is elaborate, involving specific calls, hand gestures, and facial expressions that communicate desire and submission simultaneously. The leader ignores most of them. He tears off a small portion and hands it to the strategist, payment for the successful catch. The strategist accepts and moves slightly away to eat without competition. The leader then shares small amounts with 2 other high-ranking males who supported the hunt. These transactions are calculated, reinforcing alliances through controlled generosity. Everyone else watches, hoping for scraps that may or may not come. The matriarch approaches, using her status to get closer than most. The leader tolerates her presence and eventually hands her a small piece. She accepts and returns to her position, eating while the youngster watches with interest. He will not receive any meat today. Juveniles rarely do unless their mother shares, which happens occasionally, but not reliably. The outsider remains at the periphery, watching the distribution with visible frustration. He participated in the hunt, helped drive the monkeys toward the ambush, but receives nothing. This is the reality for low-ranking males. Effort does not guarantee reward. Status determines everything. He watches as the leader finishes most of the carcass, watches as small shares go to males who did less than he did, watches as the hierarchy reinforces itself through meat distribution. It is a lesson in powerlessness. After about 40 minutes, the meal ends. Very little remains, just bones and scraps that even the lowest-ranking individuals find unsatisfying. The leader moves to a stream to drink and wash, blood on his hands and face. The others follow, the group settling into a rest period that follows most successful hunts. Hunting requires significant energy, and rest allows digestion and recovery. The chimps spread out near the stream, some grooming, others simply lying in patches of sunlight. The youngster explores the area, poking at interesting rocks and trying unsuccessfully to catch a lizard. His curiosity is endless, his attention span approximately that of a goldfish wearing a tiny hat. Every few minutes he discovers something new, investigates briefly, then moves on to the next distraction. The matriarch watches him with patient amusement. She has raised 4 offspring and understands that juvenile energy is best directed toward harmless exploration rather than suppressed entirely. Eventually, he will tire and return to her for comfort and rest. Until then, he can investigate streams and rocks and lizards without causing problems. The outsider sits alone near the edge of the group, still processing his exclusion from the meat sharing. This is a turning point, though he does not recognize it yet. Each disappointment, each reminder of his low status, builds pressure that will eventually motivate change. Some males respond to this pressure by becoming aggressive, challenging others recklessly in attempts to rise quickly. This rarely works. Others become strategic, patient, working slowly to build the alliances and skills needed for sustainable advancement. The outsider is beginning to lean toward the second path, though he is not fully committed. He watches the leader, studying how he moves, how he interacts, what makes others respect and follow him. It is not just size or strength. The leader is large, yes, but he is not the largest male in the group. What sets him apart is confidence, strategic intelligence, and the ability to maintain alliances without appearing weak. These are skills that can be learned, though learning takes time and conscious effort. The afternoon passes quietly. The group rests, grooms, explores the area without urgency. The successful hunt has filled bellies and relaxed tensions. This is one of the better days in the dry season, when food is secured and conflict avoided. Such days are rare and appreciated, though chimps do not express gratitude in ways that humans would recognize. They simply exist in the moment, comfortable and content, not thinking about tomorrow because tomorrow will bring its own challenges. The leader lies in shade, digesting his meal, occasionally grooming himself with the casual attention of someone who has nowhere urgent to be. His position allows him moments like this, periods of rest without the constant vigilance that lower-ranking males must maintain. When you are alpha, threats are fewer. Challenges still come, but less frequently, and from fewer directions. The strategist rests nearby, equally relaxed, their alliance creating a bubble of security that both benefit from. They have been partners for 3 years now, longer than many such alliances last. Male chimp friendships are often temporary, shifting with changes in rank and opportunity. That these two have maintained their bond suggests genuine compatibility beyond mere strategic convenience. They hunt well together, coordinate group movements efficiently, and seem to genuinely enjoy each other's company during rest periods. It is the kind of relationship that makes other males simultaneously envious and wary. Challenging one means potentially fighting both, which doubles the risk considerably. The matriarch sits with her adult daughter, the two of them grooming with practiced ease. Mother-daughter bonds in chimpanzee society often last for life, creating matrilineal networks that provide support across decades. The daughter is pregnant, not yet showing significantly, but moving with the slight caution of early gestation. This will be her second infant. Her first was born 2 years ago and survived, a healthy juvenile who currently plays with other youngsters nearby. Infant mortality is high in wild chimpanzee populations. Disease, accidents, aggression from males, insufficient milk, any of these can end a young life before it truly begins. The matriarch has lost 2 infants in her lifetime, tragedies that she does not remember the way humans would, but that shaped her nonetheless through the absence of offspring who should have survived. That 4 of her babies reached adulthood represents both skill and luck. She was a competent mother, protective without being overprotective, teaching necessary skills while allowing independence. But she was also fortunate in avoiding the diseases and accidents that claim so many young chimps. Her daughter grooms her arms carefully, and the matriarch closes her eyes, accepting the attention. These moments of physical contact release oxytocin, the bonding hormone that mammals share, creating feelings of calm and connection. Grooming is pharmacological as much as social, literally changing brain chemistry to reinforce relationships. The youngster has abandoned his lizard hunt and discovered a fallen log covered in interesting fungi. He pokes at the mushrooms with intense concentration, occasionally smelling his fingers afterward, trying to determine if these are edible. They are not, but he does not know this yet. His mother watches from the corner of her eye, ready to intervene if he attempts to eat something dangerous, but willing to let him explore otherwise. Learning happens through investigation, and juveniles must develop judgment through experience rather than constant prohibition. He will eventually figure out that these particular fungi taste terrible, at which point he will move on to investigating something else equally fascinating and potentially problematic. Near the stream, several younger males engage in play wrestling, their movements energetic but controlled. Play fighting serves important functions in chimpanzee development. It builds strength, teaches combat techniques, and establishes early patterns of dominance without the serious injuries that real fighting can cause. The participants are aged between 8 and 12, old enough to have significant strength, but young enough that play remains mostly friendly. They grapple, trying to pin each other, laughing in the distinctive, breathy way that chimps laugh, a sound somewhat like panting, but clearly expressing enjoyment. One juvenile manages to flip his opponent, sitting on his back triumphantly, until the other reverses the position with a quick twist. They separate, circle, then rush together again, limbs tangling in movements that look chaotic but follow specific patterns all young chimps instinctively understand. The outsider watches the play, fighting with complicated feelings. He is too old to participate without it appearing strange, but young enough to remember when he could join such games without judgment. Adolescence is awkward for chimps as it is for humans, that transitional period where you no longer fit in your old social categories but have not yet secured new ones. He occupies this uncomfortable space, too adult for juvenile activities, too low ranking for adult male coalitions. It creates isolation that is difficult to remedy without status he does not possess. His best option, probably, is to start building relationships with other low-ranking males his age, creating alliances that might eventually provide leverage for improving position. But this requires social skills he is still developing and confidence that his current circumstances undermine constantly. It is a challenging cycle to break. Watching the young males play, he notices patterns in their interactions. Some are naturally more dominant, pinning others repeatedly, controlling the pace of play. Others adapt more flexible styles, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, testing different strategies. These early patterns often predict adult hierarchy. The most dominant juveniles frequently become high-ranking adults, their personalities and physical attributes setting trajectories early. But not always. Intelligence, strategic thinking, and alliance building can overcome raw dominance. The outsider hopes this is true because his strengths lie more in observation and analysis than in physical intimidation. The sun continues its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in gradual transitions of color. The temperature remains warm, as it always does in this equatorial region, but the quality of light changes, becoming softer, more golden. Insects begin their evening chorus, cicadas and crickets creating layers of sound that fill gaps between bird calls. A fish eagle calls from somewhere near the lake, its distinctive cry carrying across the landscape. The chimps begin showing signs of readiness to move, small shifts in posture, increased alertness, grooming sessions concluding. The leader stands, stretches thoroughly, then begins walking toward higher ground. The signal is given. The group rises and follows, falling into their established formation. The journey to the evening nesting site takes about 30 minutes, the chimps moving through forest that grows darker as they travel. They reach the chosen ridge just as twilight deepens into true darkness. The location is familiar, used regularly, offering security and good sight lines. Nest building begins in the fading light. The leader constructs his nest efficiently, decades of practice making the process automatic. He selects a sturdy branch junction, bends smaller branches inward, weaves them together with movements so practiced they appear casual. The entire construction takes maybe 4 minutes. The result is a platform that will support his weight comfortably through the night, strong enough to prevent collapse, springy enough to provide slight cushioning. The strategist builds nearby, maintaining their spatial proximity even during sleep. His nest construction is equally efficient, though he chooses a slightly different tree, giving both of them space while keeping them close enough for mutual security. The matriarch chooses a sturdy tree and creates a nest that will support both her weight and the youngster, who still sometimes sleeps near her when nervous or tired. Tonight appears to be one of those nights. He builds his own nest, but constructs it in the same tree, close enough to reach his mother if needed. His nest construction has improved slightly since yesterday, though it still possesses the somewhat haphazard quality of juvenile work. Branches stick out at odd angles. The weaving is loose in places, but it will hold, which is the primary requirement, and his technique will improve with practice. She does not comment. Independence develops gradually, and pushing too hard creates anxiety rather than growth. Allowing him to build his own nest while remaining nearby provides the perfect balance of autonomy and security. The other chimps spread out through the grove, each selecting their preferred location based on rank, personality, and social relationships. High-ranking individuals choose central positions. Lower-ranking males and females without young infants take peripheral spots. Mothers with babies cluster in the safest areas, their vulnerability requiring extra caution. The spatial distribution of sleeping chimps reveals social structure as clearly as any formal hierarchy chart. The outsider builds his nest on the periphery again, same pattern, same isolation. He is growing accustomed to this position, which is both good and bad. Acceptance of reality is healthy, but acceptance of low status can become resignation, and resignation ends ambition. He must find balance between patience and passivity, between waiting for opportunities and actively creating them. His nest tonight is solid, well constructed, showing the skill that comes from nightly practice. If nothing else, isolation has given him quiet time to perfect his building technique. It is a small consolation, but chimps take what victories they can find. The forest darkens completely now, the last light fading from the western sky. The day's second sunset created colors across the horizon, orange and pink fading to purple, then deep blue, then black. The stars begin appearing, first Venus bright in the twilight, then the first true stars as darkness deepens. The Milky Way emerges gradually, a band of light stretching across the sky, billions of stars creating a glow visible only in places far from human lights. Gombe is such a place. Dark at night, the sky unpolluted by artificial illumination. The chimps settle into their nests, shifting occasionally to find comfortable positions. Some groom themselves briefly, final grooming before sleep. Others lie still immediately, exhausted from the day's activities. The youngster whispers something to his mother, soft vocalizations too quiet to hear clearly. She responds gently, reassuring sounds that calm whatever concern prompted his question. Within minutes, he is asleep, his breathing deepening into the slow rhythm of rest. She watches him for a moment, then closes her own eyes. The grove grows quiet except for natural night sounds. Insects continue their chorus. Bats fly overhead, hunting moths and beetles. Something moves through the undergrowth below, probably a genet or civet, nocturnal predators that pose no threat to tree-sleeping primates. A nightjar calls, its strange churring song rising and falling. The chimps sleep deeply, their bodies relaxed, their minds processing the day's experiences in whatever dreams chimps have. Another day survived, another day of competition, cooperation, feeding, resting, navigating the complex social world that defines their existence. Tomorrow they will wake and begin again, traveling, feeding, competing, cooperating, facing whatever challenges the forest presents. The dry season continues, testing them, shaping them, forcing adaptations that will determine who thrives and who merely survives. This is their world, ancient and ongoing, a pattern repeated across generations, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. The details change, the individuals change, but the fundamental challenges remain constant. Find food, maintain relationships, navigate hierarchy, survive. Simple goals that require extraordinary effort in execution. The chimps sleep, unaware that their year will bring changes none of them can predict. Challenges that will test bonds and break others, moments of joy and periods of struggle. They cannot know the future. They can only wake each morning and face whatever comes with the tools evolution has given them: intelligence, strength, social bonds, and the stubborn persistence that defines their species. The forest grows quiet except for night sounds, insects, and distant calls. Above the sleeping chimps, the stars shine indifferent and eternal. Below them, the earth turns, carrying them through darkness toward another dawn. 3 weeks pass in patterns that become routine. Wake, groom, travel, feed on whatever fruit remains, rest during the hottest hours, travel again, nest. The dry season grinds on, each day slightly harder than the last as resources continue dwindling. The fig trees that sustain the group through early dry season have stopped producing. The woodland fruits are gone. What remains are scattered food sources that require long travels and provide minimal calories. The chimps are losing weight, not dramatically but noticeably. Their ribs show slightly more prominently. Their movements have become more efficient, energy conserved wherever possible. Even play among juveniles has decreased, replaced by longer rest periods and less enthusiastic exploration. Hunger changes behavior in predictable ways. Aggression increases as competition for limited resources intensifies. Alliances become more important and simultaneously more fragile. Stress rises, patience decreases, and small conflicts escalate more easily into serious confrontations. The community is holding together, but tensions simmer constantly beneath the surface. The leader has maintained his position, but challenges have increased. 2 younger males, emboldened by hunger and frustration, have begun displaying more aggressively near him. These are not direct challenges yet, more like testing boundaries, seeing how much they can push before he responds. So far, he has responded decisively, charging and chasing them without actual violence. The message is clear. His status remains secure, and attempts to undermine it will be met with force if necessary. But these displays require energy he can barely afford to spend, and maintaining dominance during resource scarcity is exhausting work. The strategist remains loyal, his support unwavering, but even he shows signs of strain. Their alliance is strong, but hunger tests all relationships. The matriarch has become more protective of her feeding spots, driving away other females with uncharacteristic aggression. High rank provides advantages, but only if actively defended. She cannot afford to be generous when her own survival and her juvenile son's well-being depend on securing sufficient food. The youngster has grown noticeably thinner. Juveniles suffer most during food shortages because they require significant calories for growth, but lack the size and status to compete effectively for resources. He still plays occasionally, but less energetically, and he stays closer to his mother, relying on her protection and occasional food sharing. She shares when she can, but her own needs limit generosity. Watching him lose weight creates stress for her, visible in increased vigilance and shortened temper. The outsider has adapted to scarcity better than expected. Low-ranking males develop skills in finding overlooked food sources, the insects and small fruits that higher-ranking individuals ignore. He has become expert at locating termite mounds and extracting maximum nutrition from minimal resources. He has also begun spending more time with 2 other low-ranking males, forming the beginnings of a coalition. These alliances start tentatively, built through proximity and shared grooming sessions. The 3 of them travel together more frequently, support each other in minor conflicts, and slowly develop trust. It is a long-term strategy that may never pay off, but it is better than remaining completely isolated. One morning, the group wakes to changed air. something feels different, though initially unclear what. The sky looks heavy, clouds building in ways they have not for months. The wind has shifted, carrying moisture from the lake. Birds vocalize differently, their calls sharper, more active. The chimps notice these changes instinctively, responding to environmental cues humans would need instruments to detect. By mid-morning, the first drops fall, just a few at first, scattered and tentative, then more, building gradually into steady rain. Not heavy, not yet, but sustained precipitation after months of dry conditions. The wet season is beginning. The chimps react with obvious relief. Rain means water everywhere, not just in dwindling streams. It means plants will respond, leaves will grow, and most importantly, fruit will develop. The immediate future is still difficult, the transition period between seasons always challenging, but hope returns with the rain. The group continues traveling despite the precipitation. Chimps do not particularly enjoy being wet, but they tolerate it when necessary. Their hair provides some protection, though they are far from waterproof. Within an hour, everyone is thoroughly soaked, looking considerably less dignified than usual. Wet chimpanzee hair plasters to their bodies, making them appear smaller and somehow more miserable. The youngster finds this hilarious for reasons he cannot articulate. Something about everyone looking equally pathetic strikes him as entertainment. He makes small, laughing sounds until his mother gives him a look that suggests this is not the time for humor. He stops laughing but continues smiling, which is close enough to defiance that she sighs and ignores him. Disciplining juveniles during rain seems excessive, even for chimpanzee mothers. The rain continues through the day, steady and soaking. The group finds some shelter under dense canopy, but water drips through regardless. They huddle together for warmth, unusual cooperation driven by shared discomfort. Even the outsider is tolerated closer to the main group, temporarily included in the collective misery. By evening, when nest building time arrives, everyone is cold, wet, and ready for the rain to stop. It does not. The precipitation continues through the night, lighter but persistent. The chimps sleep poorly in wet nests, uncomfortable but exhausted enough to manage some rest. Morning brings continued, clouds but lighter rain, more drizzle than downpour. The forest has transformed overnight. Everything looks greener already, plants responding with impressive speed to the moisture. Leaves appear brighter, more vibrant. The streams run stronger, their flow increased significantly. The air smells different, rich with earth and vegetation. Over the following days, the transformation accelerates. Trees that drop leaves during dry season begin sprouting new growth. Vines produce fresh shoots. Flowers appear, adding color to the previously muted landscape. And most importantly, fruit begins developing. It will take weeks for most trees to produce ripe fruit, but the promise is visible. Small green fruits dot branches throughout the forest, the future food supply slowly materializing. The chimps can see this change, understand what it means, and their behavior shifts accordingly. Aggression decreases slightly. Play increases among juveniles. The overall mood of the community lightens, stress reducing as the certainty of coming abundance replaces the anxiety of scarcity. The leader's position stabilizes as challenges decrease. Males who tested boundaries during hunger return to more respectful distances. The hierarchy remains, but enforcement requires less energy. The strategist appears more relaxed, his movements less tense, his interactions with others more casual. good times are coming, and everyone knows it. The matriarch allows her juvenile son more independence, trusting that food will become abundant enough to support his explorations. The youngster immediately takes advantage, ranging farther from her, investigating everything with renewed enthusiasm. His weight has stabilized, the worst of the hunger past, even though plenty is not yet available. He climbs higher, explores more boldly, and generally acts like a juvenile whose confidence has been restored by the promise of reliable food. The outsider continues building his coalition with the two other low-ranking males. Their alliance is becoming more established, visible in coordinated movements and mutual support during conflicts. They groom each other regularly now, reinforcing bonds that may prove valuable later. One afternoon, they successfully defend a small food source against a slightly higher-ranking male, working together to drive him away. It is a small victory, but victories matter regardless of size. The defeated male retreats, frustrated but unwilling to escalate against three opponents. The outsider feels something unfamiliar: pride, effectiveness, the sense that his position might not be permanent after all. With allies, he has leverage. With leverage comes opportunity. His path forward remains uncertain, but it now appears possible rather than impossible. The wet season continues establishing itself. Rain becomes regular, falling most afternoons, sometimes lasting hours. The forest responds enthusiastically, growth exploding in all directions. The landscape changes from brown and sparse to green and dense within weeks. Fruit trees begin ripening, first one species, then another, then several simultaneously. The community's travels change focus from desperately searching for scattered resources to systematically visiting known productive trees. Food is suddenly abundant, reliably available, and the stress of scarcity fades into memory. Feeding sessions become relaxed affairs where everyone eats their fill without intense competition. Even low-ranking individuals find sufficient food, the hierarchy still present, but less oppressive when resources overflow. The youngster gains weight rapidly, filling out with a slightly pudgy appearance of well-fed juveniles. He spends his days playing, learning, exploring, all the activities that hunger previously limited. His mother watches him with visible relief, the tension of dry season gone from her posture. Her adult daughter gives birth during this period of abundance, timing that is not accidental. Female chimps usually conceive during good conditions and give birth when food is plentiful, ensuring maximum chance of infant survival. The newborn is tiny, helpless, clinging to its mother's chest with desperate strength. The community responds to new infants with gentle curiosity. Other females approach to observe, offering soft vocalizations of interest. The matriarch inspects her grandchild thoroughly, her experienced eye assessing health and viability. The infant appears strong, alert, responsive, good signs. Males generally show less interest in infants, though the leader approaches briefly to investigate. His inspection is cursory, but important. Alpha males sometimes commit infanticide, targeting infants sired by previous alphas to bring females back into reproductive receptivity. It is brutal strategy, but effective from genetic perspective. This infant is safe because the leader sired it. His own offspring receives his protection rather than his aggression. The new mother is nervous but competent, having successfully raised one infant already. She holds her baby carefully, supports its head properly, allows it to nurse frequently. The matriarch stays close for the first several days, providing support and occasionally intervening when the new mother's inexperience shows. Raising infants is learned behavior, passed from generation to generation through observation and instruction. The youngster is fascinated by the new arrival. He approaches repeatedly, trying to touch the baby until his mother pulls him back. Juveniles are often curious about infants but lack the gentleness required for safe interaction. The new mother tolerates his interest to a point, then makes it clear he needs distance. He retreats, disappointed but understanding. Someday he will have offspring of his own. For now he must content himself with observation. As November arrives, the wet season reaches full strength. Rain falls daily, sometimes gently, sometimes in torrential downpours that flood streams and turn trails to mud. The forest is alive with growth and activity. Birds nest and raise young. Insects swarm in unprecedented numbers. Frogs call constantly from every water source. The chimps thrive in this abundance, their bodies recovering from dry season deprivation. Weight returns, hair grows glossy, energy increases. This is the good time, the season when life is easy and survival requires less constant effort. The community's social dynamics shift during abundance. With competition reduced, cooperation increases. Grooming sessions lengthen, becoming genuine social time rather than strategic alliance maintenance. Play becomes common even among adults, wrestling and chasing that serves no purpose beyond enjoyment. The leader plays occasionally with the strategist, their relationship strong enough to include moments of levity. Watching adult male chimps play is somewhat surreal. These are powerful animals capable of serious violence, engaging in gentle roughhousing that looks almost absurd. They are careful not to hurt each other. Movements controlled, strength deliberately limited. It demonstrates trust, the confidence that play will not suddenly become real conflict. The matriarch plays with her grandchild under close supervision, making gentle faces and sounds that the infant finds fascinating. She has decades of experience with babies and knows exactly how to engage them safely. The youngster plays with other juveniles constantly, their games elaborate and energetic. Chase, wrestle, climb, swing, repeat. They are learning skills they will need as adults, packaged as entertainment. Evolution is clever that way, making necessary skill development enjoyable so young animals pursue it voluntarily. The outsider and his coalition partners play as well, their bond strengthening through shared activity. They are becoming a genuine unit, 3 males who trust each other, coordinate effectively, and provide mutual support. In a few years, this coalition might challenge for higher rank. For now, they are simply young males enjoying good times and building relationships that may prove crucial later. The wet season abundance also brings mating opportunities. Several females enter estrus, their reproductive swelling visible and attracting male attention. Mating in chimps is complicated, involving hierarchy, politics, and strategy. High-ranking males mate most frequently, their status providing preferential access. But females also exercise choice, sometimes sneaking away with preferred lower-ranking males for secret matings. The genetics of chimpanzee communities reveal that many offspring are not sired by the alpha male, despite his apparent monopoly on mating. Females are strategic about reproduction, seeking genetic diversity, and sometimes choosing intelligence or compatibility over pure dominance. The leader mates frequently during this period, his status providing opportunities. But he cannot monitor all females constantly, and some slip away for unauthorized encounters. He seems unconcerned. Perhaps he understands that complete control is impossible. Perhaps he is simply too busy enjoying abundance to worry about every female's choices. The strategist also mates successfully, his high rank providing access. Lower-ranking males watch with frustration and envy, but generally know better than challenge. The outsider observes these mating sessions with interest. He is not yet high-ranking enough to compete for females in estrus, but he is learning the patterns, understanding the strategies, filing away information for future use. Someday he might have opportunities. For now, he watches and learns. The wet season continues, rain and sun alternating, the forest thriving, the chimps healthy and active. This is the opposite of dry season, abundance replacing scarcity, cooperation replacing competition, ease replacing struggle. But even good times bring challenges. The rains bring mosquitoes in numbers that seem designed to test patience. The chimps scratch constantly, their hands moving to bite sites with practiced irritation. Mosquitoes are not life-threatening to healthy adult chimps, but they are profoundly annoying. The insects swarm during dawn and dusk, targeting exposed skin, finding every vulnerable spot. The chimps have no defense beyond scratching and occasional angry swipes at clouds of insects. They endure because endurance is what they do. Complaining accomplishes nothing, so they simply cope. The wet season also brings increased risk of respiratory infections. Constant dampness weakens immune systems, and colds spread through the community with frustrating regularity. The chimps cough and sneeze, sounding remarkably human in their misery. Several individuals develop chest infections that leave them lethargic and reluctant to travel far. The group adjusts, moving shorter distances, taking longer rests, accommodating the sick without explicit discussion. This is cooperation that happens naturally, the healthy slowing for the ill, because abandoning community members benefits no one. The matriarch develops a cough that persists for 2 weeks. She remains functional, but clearly uncomfortable, her breathing occasionally labored. Her family stays close, grooming her more frequently, offering support through proximity. The youngster seems confused by his mother's illness, not understanding why she moves more slowly or rests more often. He stays near her regardless, sensing that she needs him close, even if he cannot comprehend why. Eventually, the cough fades, her breathing returns to normal, and she resumes full activity. These illnesses pass through the community in waves, affecting different individuals at different times, never severe enough to cause serious concern, but present enough to remind everyone that abundance does not equal invulnerability. The new mother struggles during this period. Caring for an infant while sick is challenging, and she develops a fever that leaves her weak and disoriented. The matriarch intervenes more actively, staying close to her daughter, occasionally holding the infant when the mother needs rest. Grandmothers play important roles in chimpanzee society, their experience and support often determining whether young mothers succeed or fail. The infant survives the difficult period, continuing to nurse and grow despite its mother's illness. By the time she recovers, the baby is stronger, more robust, past the most vulnerable early weeks. The community continues its daily patterns, modified slightly by rain and illness, but fundamentally unchanged. Wake, groom, travel, feed, rest. Travel again, nest. The rhythm persists regardless of conditions. What changes is the ease with which these activities occur. During wet season abundance, everything feels simpler. Food is everywhere, requiring minimal search effort. Water is available at every stream and puddle. The forest provides more than enough for everyone. The chimps gain weight steadily, their bodies recovering from dry season deprivation and building reserves for future scarcity. Fat storage is crucial for primates living in seasonal environments. The ability to gain weight during good times determines survival during bad times. The chimps eat constantly when food is available, not from gluttony, but from evolutionary wisdom. Excess calories today become survival tomorrow. The leader has become noticeably heavier, his frame filling out impressively. He looks powerful, confident, the physical embodiment of successful leadership. His weight demonstrates his ability to access the best food sources, his status translating directly into nutrition. Other males notice this, recognizing that challenging him now would be foolish. He is at peak condition while they are still recovering. The timing favors him completely. The strategist also gains weight, maintaining his position as second-ranking male. Their alliance continues strong, reinforced by success and mutual benefit. They coordinate hunts more frequently now, with abundant energy, making hunting feasible even when not strictly necessary for nutrition. Several successful monkey hunts occurred during this period, the meat a luxury rather than necessity. The hunts serve social functions as much as nutritional ones, allowing males to demonstrate skill and reinforce hierarchies through meat distribution. The matriarch maintains her weight carefully, eating enough to stay healthy, but not becoming heavy enough to slow her movements. Female chimps balance different priorities than males. They need sufficient reserves for reproduction, but cannot afford excess weight that might hinder escape from predators or aggressive males. Her adult daughter, nursing a new infant, eats voraciously, her body demanding extra calories for milk production. New mothers require approximately 50% more calories than non-nursing females. The wet season abundance makes this possible, the forest providing enough for both mother and infant. The youngster grows rapidly during this period, his body responding to abundant nutrition with impressive speed. He gains height and weight, transitioning from small juvenile toward larger adolescent proportions. His limbs lengthen, his chest broadens, his face begins losing the rounded features of youth. The transformation is subtle but accumulating, visible when compared to his appearance months ago. He will not reach full adult size for several more years, but the foundation is building. The outsider and his coalition partners also gain weight and confidence. They travel together constantly now, a recognized unit within the larger community. Other males have begun treating them with increased caution, recognizing that challenging one means fighting three. This is exactly the dynamic they hope to create. Strength through unity, protection through alliance. One afternoon, they successfully challenge a mid-ranking male for access to a productive fig tree. The confrontation is brief, more display than violence. The three of them charge together, vocalizing aggressively, presenting a united front. The single male, recognizing he is outnumbered, retreats without serious fight. The coalition feeds triumphantly, their coordinated action proving effective. This is a turning point. They have demonstrated ability to challenge higher-ranking individuals successfully. Other males notice, recognizing that the social hierarchy is not fixed but fluid, subject to change when individuals organize effectively. The leader observes this confrontation from a distance. He does not intervene. The challenged male was not part of his core alliance, and allowing lower-ranking coalitions to sort out mid-level hierarchies actually serves his interests. It keeps ambitious males focused on each other rather than on him. As long as they do not challenge his position directly, he is content to let them compete. The strategist, however, watches more carefully. He recognizes that successful coalitions can become threats, especially coalitions built around hunger for advancement. The 3 young males currently pose no danger to his position, but in a year or 2, they might. He files this information away, not planning immediate action, but noting the potential future challenge. Strategic intelligence involves thinking ahead, recognizing patterns before they fully develop. The wet season peaks in December, the height of abundance. Rain falls daily, but rarely all day, leaving periods of sunshine that the chimps maximize for travel and feeding. The forest is at its most productive, fruit everywhere, constant ripening, creating steady food supply. This is as good as life gets for chimpanzees. Every biological need is met easily. Food, water, shelter, safety, all abundant. The community spends more time on social activities, grooming sessions that last hours, play that serves no purpose beyond enjoyment, explorations that satisfy curiosity rather than necessity. This is living rather than merely surviving. The youngster discovers a termite mound that the adults have not visited recently. He attempts termite fishing, inserting a stick into the mound with the confident incompetence of someone who has watched others perform this task, but never quite mastered it himself. His technique is terrible. He uses a stick that is too thick, inserted at the wrong angle, withdrawn too quickly. He catches exactly 0 termites. His older sibling watches with barely concealed amusement, then demonstrates the correct technique. Select a thin, straight stick, strip leaves carefully, insert slowly into the termite hole. Wait patiently for termites to latch on. Withdraw smoothly, eat termites, repeat. The youngster tries again, improving slightly but still catching fewer termites than his effort deserves. His sibling leaves him to practice, the learning process requiring trial and error that no amount of demonstration can replace. By the end of the afternoon, the youngster has caught maybe a dozen termites. Not impressive by adult standards, but progress nonetheless. He will improve with practice, eventually mastering this crucial skill. For now, he is simply learning, making mistakes, gradually building competence. This is how chimpanzee knowledge transmits across generations, through observation, imitation, practice, and patience. No formal instruction occurs, but learning happens constantly. Young chimps watch elders, attempt to copy their behaviors, fail repeatedly, adjust techniques, eventually succeed. Culture emerges from this process, each community developing slightly different traditions passed from generation to generation. Gombe chimps fish for termites in specific ways that differ from chimps in other forests. They crack nuts using particular techniques, hunt using specific strategies, even have distinct vocalizations that amount to local dialects. These differences are learned, not genetic, making them true culture in the scientific sense. As the wet season continues, the community settles into comfortable routine. The challenges of dry season feel distant, almost unreal. The current abundance seems permanent, even though everyone who has lived through multiple years knows it is temporary. Chimps do not think in long-term abstractions. They live in the present, responding to current conditions rather than anticipating distant changes. This is both strength and weakness. It allows them to fully experience good times without anxiety about future scarcity. But it also means they do not prepare for challenges ahead, cannot store food or make plans beyond immediate circumstances. They exist in eternal now, for better and worse. The leader rests in afternoon shade, belly full, body relaxed, surrounded by his community. This is success from evolutionary perspective. He has maintained alpha status through another year, sired offspring that survive, led his group through scarcity into abundance. His genes will continue into the future through children and grandchildren. This is what natural selection rewards, not happiness or fulfillment, but reproduction and survival. Yet watching him rest peacefully, it is difficult not to project something like contentment onto his expression. Perhaps he feels something analogous to satisfaction, though chimpanzee emotional experiences remain mysterious despite decades of study. Perhaps he simply feels comfortable, safe, full, surrounded by allies. That might be the closest to happiness that wild animals achieve. The absence of immediate threats, the presence of resources, the company of familiar individuals. Not joy exactly, but something like peace. The wet season continues, day after day of abundance and ease. The chimps thrive, their bodies and social bonds strengthening. But seasons always change. Eventually, the rains will decrease, the fruit will diminish, and scarcity will return. This is the cycle, endless and inevitable. For now, though, life is good. Food is plentiful, the group is healthy, and the future looks promising. The chimps do not think in terms of gratitude or fortune, but if they could, they might acknowledge that these are the days worth living. The wet season peak represents everything their species evolved for, the conditions under which chimpanzees thrive. They are built for this, physically and socially adapted, to make the most of abundance. And they do, every day, living fully in the present moment, because that is all they have. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. Today, they eat and play and rest and simply exist in a world that is temporarily exactly what they need. February arrives with subtle changes that only long-term residents would notice. The rain continues, but with slightly different patterns. Less frequent, less intense, more variable. Some days pass without precipitation, the sky blue and cloudless. These dry days become more common as the month progresses. The forest remains green and productive, but the peak has passed. Fruit production continues strong but no longer increases. The trajectory has reversed. Abundance plateauing before beginning its inevitable decline toward the next dry season. The chimps do not consciously recognize this transition, but their bodies and behaviors respond instinctively. Feeding sessions last slightly longer. Travel distances increase as preferred trees deplete. Competition edges upward, not dramatically, but noticeably. The ease of December fades gradually into something more effortful. The leader spends more time monitoring the group, watching for challenges that abundance temporarily suppressed. Male hierarchies destabilize during transitions between seasons. The individuals who gained weight and confidence during wet season now feel emboldened to test boundaries. Younger males who observed the leader's dominance during scarcity now see him as potentially vulnerable during the transition period. He is not vulnerable, but perception matters in chimpanzee politics. Challenges come from two males, mid-ranking individuals in their early 20s. They begin displaying more aggressively near him, charging past him during travel, vocalizing loudly in his vicinity. These are not direct challenges yet, but they are testing, probing, searching for weakness. The leader responds with measured aggression. He charges them when they overstep, displays his strength through impressive shows of speed and power. He does not escalate to violence because violence is costly, but he makes clear that his position remains secure. The strategist supports him actively, backing every display, adding his voice and presence to demonstrations of dominance. Their alliance proves effective. The challenging males recognize they face not one opponent, but two, and their displays become less frequent, less bold. They are testing, but they are not yet committed to serious challenge. The hierarchy stabilizes again, temporarily, though everyone understands this is ongoing negotiation rather than permanent resolution. The matriarch watches these male conflicts with apparent disinterest. Female chimps generally avoid male political drama unless it directly affects them. She focuses on her own concerns, primarily her juvenile son and her daughter's infant. The youngster continues growing rapidly, his appetite seemingly unlimited. He eats constantly when food is available, his body demanding fuel for growth and activity. He has become more independent, ranging farther from his mother, spending more time with other juveniles. This is normal development, the gradual separation that prepares him for eventual full independence. His mother allows this freedom, trusting that he has learned enough to avoid serious danger. She remains watchful, but no longer hovering, the balance shifting toward letting him make mistakes and learn from them. One afternoon, he makes a significant mistake. He approaches a mid-ranking male who is feeding and attempts to take food directly from his hands. This is acceptable behavior for very young juveniles who are tolerated taking food from adults. But the youngster is old enough now that such behavior crosses into disrespect. The male reacts instantly, lunging at him with a scream. The youngster flees, terrified, scrambling up the nearest tree while vocalizing distress. His mother arrives within seconds, drawn by his calls. She does not attack the male, understanding that her son provoked the confrontation, but her presence alone sends a message. Discipline is acceptable, excessive violence is not. The male backs off, his point made. The youngster remains in his tree, breathing hard, his confidence shaken. He has learned something important today. Juvenile privileges have limits, and he is approaching the age where those limits become strictly enforced. This is how young chimps learn social rules, through mistakes and consequences, gradually building understanding of acceptable behavior. His mother waits below until he calms, then continues feeding. She does not comfort him beyond her presence. He must process this experience himself, integrate the lesson, adjust his behavior accordingly. Overprotective parents produce poorly adjusted offspring, a truth that transcends species. The youngster eventually descends, subdued but uninjured. He stays closer to his mother for the rest of the day, his boldness temporarily replaced by caution. Tomorrow he will likely forget this lesson and make new mistakes. Such is the nature of juvenile learning. The outsider and his coalition continue strengthening their alliance. They have become a recognized force within the community, no longer dismissed as insignificant low-ranking males. Their coordinated displays and mutual support have earned them increased status, though they remain far below the leader and his core allies. One of the coalition members, slightly larger and bolder than the others, begins displaying more individually. He charges through the group occasionally, making noise, drawing attention. This is how males announce ambition, through displays that demonstrate confidence and strength. The outsider watches these displays with mixed feelings. He supports his allies' advancement, understanding that their coalition benefits when any member rises. But he also recognizes that increased status brings increased attention and risk. Drawing the leader's focus is dangerous for males not yet strong enough to defend challenges. His ally seems unconcerned, continuing his displays, growing bolder. The coalition begins fracturing slightly, not in open conflict, but through diverging strategies. The bold one wants to push for higher rank immediately. The outsider prefers patience, building strength and alliances before making overt moves. The third member wavers between these approaches, uncertain which path serves him better. This is common in male coalitions. Unity serves everyone during initial formation, but as individuals gain confidence, ambitions diverge. Some maintain alliances for years, recognizing that cooperation serves long-term interests. Others split, pursuing individual advancement at the cost of collective strength. The outcome depends on personality, circumstance, and the specific individuals involved. For now, the coalition holds together, though tensions simmer beneath surface cooperation. March arrives with noticeably drier conditions. The transition between wet and dry seasons is accelerating. Fruit production declines steadily. Some tree species have already stopped fruiting entirely, their season complete. Others continue producing, but at reduced rates. The forest remains green, but the abundance of wet season is clearly ending. The chimps respond by increasing travel distances significantly. Their daily range expands from a few kilometers to 5 or 6, long, exhausting journeys between scattered food sources. The community fragments more frequently, splitting into smaller parties that travel different routes before reuniting in the evening. This fission-fusion social structure is typical for chimps, flexibility that allows them to adapt to resource distribution. When food is abundant and concentrated, the whole community travels together. When food is scattered, smaller groups forage more efficiently. The leader typically travels with the largest party, his presence and that of the strategist keeping their core alliance visible. Other males attach to this group or break off into smaller parties depending on food availability and social preferences. The matriarch often travels with a female party, her daughter and grandchild included, along with several other adult females and their offspring. These female groups move independently, following their own routes, occasionally encountering male parties, but not consistently traveling together. The youngster sometimes accompanies his mother's party, sometimes joins groups of other juveniles. His independence is increasing, his social world expanding beyond just family. The outsider and his coalition usually travel as a unit, sometimes joining larger male parties, sometimes foraging alone. Their position remains ambiguous, accepted within the community, but not fully integrated into the core power structure. One afternoon, the community reunites at a large fig tree that has just begun producing ripe fruit. This is one of the last major fruiting trees of the season, and everyone knows its importance. The entire group converges, 40 individuals, gathering in and around a single tree. This concentration creates immediate tension. Too many chimps competing for limited space and finite food. The hierarchy becomes brutally visible. The leader takes the best position in the crown, where fruit is densest. The strategist and other high-ranking males cluster nearby. Mid-ranking males occupy intermediate positions, constantly jockeying for better spots. Low-ranking males wait on the ground or in poor feeding positions on the tree's periphery. Females sort themselves by rank. High-status individuals feeding closer to males. Lower-ranking females pushed to margins. Juveniles cluster with their mothers, sharing whatever access maternal rank provides. The youngster finds a decent spot near his mother, who has used her status to secure a reasonable feeding position. He eats quickly, efficiently, understanding that opportunities must be maximized. The outsider waits on the ground, watching others feed above. His coalition partners are beside him, equally excluded. This is the reality they face. Despite their increased confidence and coordinated displays, they remain low-ranking when resources become contested. The bold coalition member makes a decision. He begins climbing the tree, moving toward a feeding position currently occupied by a mid-ranking male. This is a challenge, clear and direct. The mid-ranking male notices immediately and screams, warning the intruder away. The coalition member does not retreat. He continues climbing, his body language aggressive. The confrontation escalates quickly. The mid-ranking male charges, crashing through branches toward the challenger. The coalition member stands his ground, supported by vocalizations from his partners below. They clash in the branches, grappling briefly. Neither achieves clear advantage before the conflict breaks. Both retreat to separate positions, breathing hard, neither willing to escalate further. The interaction lasts maybe 30 seconds, but its implications are significant. The coalition member demonstrated willingness to challenge higher-ranking males directly. He did not win, but he did not lose decisively either. This establishes him as a serious contender rather than just ambitious posturing. The leader observes from his position above. He does not intervene. The challenge was directed at a mid-ranking male, not at his core alliance. Allowing such conflicts actually benefits him by keeping ambitious males focused on each other. But he files this information away. The coalition member is becoming bold enough to pose potential future threat. Not immediate, but developing. The feeding session continues for 2 hours until the tree is stripped. Afterwards, the community disperses again, different parties traveling different directions. The abundance that allowed everyone to stay together has ended. Scarcity is returning, and scarcity forces fragmentation. The outsider travels with his coalition that evening, discussing the confrontation without words. Their body language communicates assessment and planning. The bold member displayed courage, but also revealed their hand. The hierarchy now recognizes them as potential challengers rather than safely dismissed low-ranking males. This changes dynamics, creates both opportunities and dangers. They must be strategic about next moves. Push too hard, and they risk serious injury from coordinated response by higher-ranking males. Move too cautiously, and their momentum stalls, their brief window of opportunity closing. Finding balance between aggression and patience will determine their success or failure. As April begins, the dry season reasserts itself fully. The rains have stopped almost completely. The forest begins its transformation back to brown and sparse. Leaves fall, trees conserve water, fruit production drops to minimal levels. The community returns to scarcity patterns, long travels, intense competition, shorter tempers. The cycle is completing, bringing them back to conditions that started our journey. But the individuals have changed. The leader has successfully navigated another year, maintaining his position through challenges and transitions. He is older now, still strong but with finite years of dominance remaining. The strategist remains loyal, their alliance intact. The matriarch has gained a grandchild, her family line continuing. The youngster has grown significantly, transitioning from small juvenile toward larger adolescent, and the outsider has built a coalition, transformed from isolated low-ranking male into member of a coordinated group with genuine potential for advancement. The community dynamics have shifted subtly, new alliances formed, old patterns adjusted. One evening, as the group nests in familiar trees, a confrontation erupts that will reshape everything. The bold coalition member, emboldened by his earlier success, approaches too close to where the leader is preparing to nest. It is unclear whether this is intentional challenge or simply poor judgment. The result is the same. The leader explodes into action, charging down from his tree with devastating speed. The coalition member flees, but not fast enough. The leader catches him, pulls him from a branch, and the two crash to the ground in a tangle of limbs and violence. It is brutal and brief. The leader is significantly larger, stronger, more experienced. He pins the younger male, biting his shoulder, screaming dominance. The coalition member submits immediately, vocalizing surrender. The leader releases him but does not retreat. He stands over the submissive male, hair bristled, making himself look enormous. The message is clear and final. There is the leader, and there is everyone else. Ambition is acceptable, but knowing your limits is mandatory. The coalition member limps away, injured but not seriously. His shoulder bleeds from bite wounds that will heal but leave scars. His confidence is shattered more than his body. He has learned what happens when ambition exceeds capability. The outsider and the third coalition member watch from safe distance. They do not intervene. There is nothing they could do that would not make situations worse. Their bold ally challenged too early, pushed too hard, and paid the price. The coalition has not dissolved, but its momentum has stalled dramatically. They will need time to recover, regroup, reassess strategy. The leader returns to his tree and resumes nest building as though nothing happened. For him, it was simply reinforcement of established order. Necessary, decisive, done. The community settles into their nests, the evening quieter than usual. Everyone processed what they witnessed. The hierarchy has been reinforced through violence, reminding everyone that status is maintained through strength when necessary. The stars emerge above sleeping chimps. Another day ends, another challenge met, the ancient patterns continuing. The year is not finished, but its major themes have been established: survival, hierarchy, alliance, ambition, all playing out through individuals navigating complex social world. The injured coalition member lies in his nest, shoulder throbbing, pride wounded more deeply than flesh. He shifts carefully, trying to find positions that do not press on his bite wounds. Sleep comes slowly, his mind processing the confrontation, trying to understand where he miscalculated. His mistake was not ambition itself, but timing and target selection. Challenging mid-ranking males carries risk, but offers potential reward. Challenging the leader directly, even accidentally, invites overwhelming response. He has learned this lesson the hard way. The physical wounds will heal within weeks. The psychological impact will last longer, potentially permanently affecting his approach to social advancement. Some males recover from such defeats and continue pushing for status. Others become permanently cautious, their confidence broken, their ambition replaced by acceptance of lower rank. Which path he follows will determine his future trajectory. The outsider rests in his nest nearby, thinking about what he witnessed. His coalition has received a harsh education in the limits of their current power. They are stronger together than alone, but not strong enough to challenge the established leadership. Not yet, possibly not ever. The question becomes whether to maintain their alliance and continue building slowly, or whether to abandon the strategy as too risky given tonight's demonstration. He has no answer yet. The decision requires thought and observation over coming days. For now, he simply rests, processing information, filing away lessons about power, timing, and the consequences of overreach. The third coalition member lies awake in his nest, similarly troubled. He had advocated for patience, for building strength, before making overt challenges. Tonight proved him correct, though he takes no satisfaction in this. His ally is injured, their coalition's reputation is damaged, and their path forward has become significantly more complicated. They might recover from this setback. Many male coalitions face defeats and regroup successfully, but they might also fragment, each member pursuing individual strategies rather than collective advancement. The coming days will reveal which outcome emerges. Morning arrives with the usual progression, from darkness to gray to dawn colors. The community wakes slowly, individuals stretching, yawning, beginning their descent from nests. The injured coalition member moves carefully, favoring his shoulder, his pain visible in stiff movements. Other chimps notice but do not react overtly. Injuries are common in chimpanzee society, consequences of the aggressive conflicts that regularly occur. Sympathy is not a strong feature of chimp social dynamics. You survive your wounds or you do not, and the group continues regardless. The leader descends from his tree looking refreshed and unconcerned. Last night's violence already forgotten, at least consciously. He displays briefly, charging through the group with hair bristled, re-establishing his presence. Others move aside, giving him space, acknowledging his status through avoidance. The strategist greets him with grooming, their morning ritual unchanged. They sit together while other males maintain respectful distance. The hierarchy has been reinforced, and everyone understands their position within it. The matriarch observes male politics with her usual detachment. She grooms her daughter while the grandchild nurses, the infant now 2 months old and thriving. Female concerns center on offspring and family. Male conflicts relevant only when they directly threaten female interests. Last night's confrontation occurred between males and remained there. From her perspective, nothing important has changed. The youngster descends his tree energetically, yesterday's discipline already half forgotten. He approaches his mother, seeking brief contact before launching into his day's exploration. She touches him gently, reassurance and greeting combined, then returns attention to her daughter. He bounds away, joining other juveniles who are beginning to play in early morning light. Their games are energetic but less boisterous than during wet season abundance. Even play requires energy, and energy must be carefully managed during scarcity. The community begins traveling, fragmenting into familiar parties. The leaders group heads toward a section of woodland where some fruit trees might still be producing. The matriarch's female party travels a different route, their smaller size allowing them to exploit food sources that would not satisfy larger male groups. The injured coalition member travels with his partners, their group quiet and subdued. The bold displays that characterized recent weeks have vanished, replaced by cautious movement and low profiles. They are strategically invisible, drawing no attention, provoking no responses. This is wisdom learned through pain, the understanding that survival sometimes requires accepting temporary setbacks without resistance. Over the following weeks, the dry season deepens. Conditions deteriorate steadily toward the scarcity that characterized the beginning of our journey. The cycle is completing, bringing the community full circle through seasons. The chimps adapt as they always do, through increased travel, reduced activity, and careful management of limited resources. The injured coalition member's wounds heal cleanly, leaving scars but causing no permanent damage. His psychological recovery is slower, his displays less frequent, his ambition more carefully controlled. The coalition maintains its alliance but operates more quietly, building strength without attracting attention. This is probably the wisest strategy, though it requires patience that young males struggle to maintain. The outsider watches his allies' recovery with mixed feelings. The defeat was painful but educational, providing crucial information about their limitations and the strength of established leadership. They are not ready to challenge for high rank. Perhaps they never will be, but they have secured positions above the absolute bottom of the hierarchy, which represents genuine achievement for males who started with nothing. Sometimes success means reaching mid-rank rather than the top. Sometimes survival and modest advancement represent victory. The leader maintains his position through the transition back to dry season. His dominance remains unchallenged after his decisive response to the coalition members' overreach. Other males display occasionally, but within acceptable boundaries, testing without genuinely threatening. He handles these displays with practiced ease, responding just enough to maintain authority without wasting energy on unnecessary conflicts. The strategist continues his loyal support, their partnership unchanged. 4 years of alliance have created bonds that transcend mere strategic convenience. They hunt together efficiently, coordinate group movements smoothly, and genuinely seem to enjoy each other's company. This is rare in male chimpanzee relationships, where alliances typically shift with circumstances and opportunities. That theirs has lasted suggests compatibility beyond political calculation. The matriarch's family thrives despite returning scarcity. Her grandchild continues growing, robust and healthy, passing early vulnerability into stronger infancy. Her daughter has proven to be a capable mother, attentive without being overprotective, responsive to infant needs while maintaining her own health. The matriarch's support has been crucial, providing experienced guidance that first-time mothers desperately need. 3 generations of females connected through blood and bonds, navigating challenges together. This is the foundation of female chimpanzee society, matrilineal networks that provide stability across decades. The youngster has grown noticeably larger. At 8 years old now, he stands at the threshold of adolescence. His body is changing, becoming more angular, less juvenile in proportion. His behavior is changing too, becoming more male-focused, interested in dominance displays and hierarchies rather than just play. This is natural development, the transition from childhood toward adult male social roles. His mother watches these changes with something that might be pride if chimps experience such emotions. Her son is healthy, growing strong, learning the skills he will need for adult survival. She has done her job well, raising him through vulnerable infancy into capable youth. Soon he will be fully independent and she can focus entirely on herself, though mothers never completely stop monitoring offspring regardless of age. The dry season continues its grip on the forest. By May, conditions closely match those from the beginning of our journey. Sparse fruit, long travels, intense competition, all the challenges that define scarcity. The community has completed one full cycle through the seasons. They have survived wet and dry, abundance and scarcity, cooperation and conflict. Individuals have changed, grown, learned, adapted. The group has absorbed these changes, adjusted dynamics, maintained cohesion despite constant challenges. This is the remarkable achievement of chimpanzee society. Despite complex politics, aggressive hierarchies, and intense competition, the community persists. Individuals come and go, some die, some are born, but the group continues. The social structure bends under pressure, but rarely breaks. Conflicts occur constantly, but usually resolve without permanent damage. This balance between competition and cooperation, between individual ambition and group cohesion, represents evolutionary success measured across millions of years. One evening, as the community nests in familiar trees, the leader sits in his nest, watching the sunset. He has held his position for 3 years now, longer than many alphas manage. He has faced challenges, defeated rivals, maintained alliances, and led his group through multiple seasonal cycles. His tenure has been successful by any measure, but he also knows, perhaps not consciously, but instinctively, that his time is finite. Younger males are developing, building strength, forming alliances. Eventually, someone will challenge successfully, and he will lose his position. This is the inevitable progression of male hierarchies. Every alpha eventually falls. For now, though, he remains strong, confident, secure in his status. Tomorrow, he will wake and lead his community again, just as he has done for 3 years. How many more tomorrows he has at the top remains unknown. But tonight, in this moment, he is alpha, and that is enough. The forest darkens, stars emerge, the community settles into sleep. Another day survived, another night of rest, before facing whatever tomorrow brings. The cycle continues, endless and ancient, the rhythm of chimpanzee life unchanged across countless generations. They are survivors, these complicated, intelligent, social primates. They are our closest living relatives, sharing our biology, our emotions, our capacity for both cooperation and conflict. Watching them is like watching ourselves, stripped of culture and technology, reduced to fundamental social dynamics that evolution has shaped over millions of years. They are not us, but they are close enough that the similarities cannot be ignored. They remind us where we came from, what we still are beneath our modern veneers. They are beautiful, brutal, brilliant creatures, and their story continues, day after day, year after year, for as long as the forests remain and the seasons turn. June arrives with the deep dry season fully established. The forest has returned to its sparse brown state, leaves fallen, fruit nearly absent, streams reduced to thin trickles. The community has traveled this path before, just 12 months ago when our journey began. The cycle has completed, bringing them back to familiar challenges. But examining the individuals reveals how much has changed despite the circular nature of seasons. The leader has aged visibly, though he remains strong. Gray hair spreads further across his shoulders and back, silver threads marking the passage of time. His movements are still powerful, still commanding, but observers who know him well might notice slightly less explosive speed, fractionally longer recovery times after exertion. He is approaching his late 20s, still in his prime, but with the peak slowly receding behind him. Alpha males typically hold their position for 3 to 5 years. He has held his for 3. Mathematics suggests his time is limited, though predicting exactly when challenges will succeed remains impossible. For now, he continues leading competently, his authority maintained through intelligence and strategic violence, rather than pure physical dominance. The strategist shows similar aging, the two of them growing older together. Their alliance has lasted 4 years, remarkable longevity for male partnerships. They have supported each other through countless challenges, building trust that transcends mere political convenience. When one displays, the other backs him automatically. When one feeds, the other is tolerated nearby. They rest in proximity, groom frequently, and coordinate movements with minimal communication. This is friendship, as much as that term applies to chimpanzee relationships. Not human friendship with its complex emotional dimensions, but genuine bond built through years of mutual support and compatible temperaments. Such relationships are rare in male chimpanzee society and valuable precisely because of their rarity. The matriarch has aged more subtly, her changes less visible but equally real. She moves slightly more carefully, her joints showing the accumulated wear of 40 years navigating steep terrain. Her teeth are worn from decades of chewing tough plant material and cracking nuts with stone tools. But her mind remains sharp, her social intelligence undiminished, her status secure. Female hierarchies, based more on social networks than physical dominance, tend to remain stable as individuals age. She will likely maintain her high rank until she dies or becomes too frail to defend it. Her grandchild has grown into a robust 4-month-old infant, past the most vulnerable early period. The baby clings to its mother independently now, rarely needing support. It watches the world with increasing alertness, processing information, learning the faces and behaviors of community members. In another few months, it will begin exploring independently the first tentative steps toward eventual autonomy. The matriarch watches this development with something that might be satisfaction. Her daughter has proven herself a capable mother, her lineage continues successfully, and her family network remains strong. These are measures of success, in female chimpanzee terms, achievements built across decades of strategic social navigation. The youngster has transformed dramatically over the past year. At 8 years old, he stands on the threshold of adolescence, his body awkward with growth, his face losing juvenile roundness. He is significantly larger than he was 12 months ago, taller and heavier, his proportions shifting toward adult dimensions. More importantly, his social focus has shifted. He spends less time with his mother and juveniles, more time watching adult male interactions. He practices displays when he thinks others are not watching, charging through undergrowth, making himself look large and threatening. The results are comical, his movements lacking the fluid power of adult males, his aggression unconvincing. But he is learning, building skills through practice, preparing for the competitive male social world he will soon enter fully. His mother watches these displays with patient acceptance. He is becoming independent, following the developmental path all male chimps travel. Soon he will leave her orbit entirely, spending his time with other males, competing for rank, building his own alliances. This is natural and necessary, though if mothers feel anything like loss at their son's departure, she might be experiencing it now. The outsider has changed most dramatically of all our main characters. 12 months ago, he was isolated, low-ranking, uncertain of his place. Now he leads a stable coalition of 3 males who support each other consistently. They are not high-ranking, still occupy positions in the lower third of male hierarchy, but they are no longer invisible or insignificant. Other males treat them with caution, recognizing that challenging one means fighting 3. This is progress, genuine advancement from complete vulnerability toward modest security. The coalition has learned from their earlier mistakes, particularly the disastrous challenge that resulted in injury. They operate more cautiously now, building strength slowly, avoiding confrontations they cannot win. The bold member who provoked the leader's violence has become more strategic, his ambition tempered by painful experience. The 3 of them groom frequently, reinforcing bonds that have proven their value repeatedly. They hunt together, share food discoveries, back each other in disputes. This cooperation has become their strength, allowing individuals of modest physical ability to achieve collective power. One morning in late June, the community wakes to unusual activity. A neighboring chimpanzee group has entered the territory, attracted by rumors of a fruiting tree that both communities claim. Territorial disputes are serious matters in chimpanzee society. Groups defend their ranges aggressively, and encounters between communities can turn violent quickly. The leader recognizes the threat immediately. He begins displaying intensely, charging through the trees, vocalizing loudly, drumming on buttress roots to create thunderous sounds that carry for kilometers. The message is clear. This is his territory, and intruders are not welcome. Other males join the display rapidly, adding their voices and aggression to the demonstration. The strategist displays beside the leader, their partnership visible. Mid-ranking males display enthusiastically, using this opportunity to demonstrate loyalty and value. Even low-ranking males participate, including the Outsiders Coalition. Territorial defense supersedes internal hierarchy. Against external threats, the community unites. The displays continue for an hour, the males working themselves into aggressive frenzy. Females and juveniles stay back, watching but not participating. Territorial defense is male work, dangerous and violent. Females support through vocalizations, but avoid direct involvement unless absolutely necessary. The youngster watches intently, absorbing lessons about male cooperation and territorial aggression. This is important education, showing him how adult males coordinate during genuine threats. Eventually, scouts report that the neighboring group has retreated. The display worked, convincing the intruders that challenging this community would be too costly. No violence occurred, the conflict resolved through demonstration of strength rather than actual combat. This is the preferred outcome. Territorial fights can result in serious injuries or fatalities when they escalate beyond displays. The males settle gradually, adrenaline fading, aggression dissipating. They groom each other extensively, reinforcing bonds stressed by the confrontation. The leader grooms with the strategist, their alliance unshaken. Other males groom in pairs and small groups, processing the shared experience. The outsider and his coalition partners groom together, their participation in the territorial defense having validated their membership in the community. Low ranking or not, they stood with the group against external threat. This matters, creates social credit that might prove valuable later. The matriarch watches the aftermath with calm assessment. Territorial disputes are concerning but manageable if males handle them competently. Today they did, demonstrating the coordinated aggression that keeps their community safe. Her focus returns quickly to her family, the grandchild and daughter who require her attention. Male politics are interesting but peripheral to female concerns, unless they directly threaten family welfare. As July progresses, food scarcity intensifies further. This is the deepest part of dry season, the hardest weeks before conditions begin slowly improving. The community fragments extensively, small parties traveling different routes to maximize foraging efficiency. Sometimes days pass with different groups barely encountering each other, reuniting only at productive food sources or evening nesting sites. The leader's party travels long distances daily, their larger size requiring more food. They move efficiently, following routes learned over years of experience. The strategist coordinates closely, the two of them making decisions through subtle communication that outside observers would struggle to detect. The matriarch's female party travels separately, her daughter and grandchild included, along with several other adult females and their offspring. They exploit food sources too small for male parties, their reduced numbers allowing efficient use of scattered resources. The youngster travels with various groups, sometimes with his mother, sometimes with other juveniles, occasionally with male parties when they tolerate his presence. His independence is nearly complete, his bond with his mother maintained, but no longer defining his social world. The Outsiders Coalition travels as a tight unit, their cooperation allowing them to defend food sources against slightly higher-ranking individuals. One afternoon, they successfully claim a termite mound against competition from a mid-ranking male. It is small victory, but victories accumulate, slowly building confidence and status. During one particularly difficult week, the community discovers a tree bearing unexpected fruit, a late-season production that no one predicted. The entire group converges rapidly, drawn by calls from the discovery party. The tree is large, but the fruit limited, creating intense competition. Hierarchy becomes brutally visible again, high-ranking individuals feeding first, lower-ranking chimps waiting for opportunities. The leader and strategist secure prime positions immediately. Other males arrange themselves by rank. The social order displayed three-dimensionally through feeding positions. Females sort similarly, though their hierarchy is less rigid, allowing more flexibility based on circumstance and relationships. The youngster feeds near his mother, benefiting from her status, one of the last times this will occur. Soon he will be too old for such protection, forced to secure feeding positions through his own rank and abilities. The outsider and his coalition wait patiently on the ground. They have learned patience, understanding that attempting to feed before their turn invites aggression. Eventually, as higher-ranking individuals finish and descend, opportunities open. The coalition ascends together, moving to feeding positions recently vacated. The fruit is mostly gone, only scattered items remaining. But they gather what they can, efficient and thorough, maximizing minimal resources. This is their skill, finding overlooked opportunities, making the most of what others dismiss. It is not glamorous, but it is effective, and effectiveness matters more than glory in survival contexts. After feeding, the community rests together, a rare moment of collective presence during this fragmented period. The shared resource has brought them together temporarily, creating opportunity for social interactions that scarcity usually prevents. Grooming occurs extensively, bonds reinforced, tensions reduced, the community reconnecting after days of separation. The leader grooms with multiple individuals, reinforcing his centrality to the social network. The matriarch grooms with her daughter and other female relatives, maintaining family bonds. The youngster plays briefly with other juveniles, their energy returning temporarily with full stomachs. The outsiders' coalition grooms together, as always, their bond the foundation of their security. As afternoon fades toward evening, the community begins moving toward nesting sites. They choose a familiar grove, trees used many times before, comfortable and safe. Nest building proceeds smoothly, decades of practice making the process automatic for adults. The youngster constructs his nest with improved skill, his technique finally approaching competence after months of questionable results. His mother builds nearby, their proximity maintained even as his independence grows. She will always be his mother, their bond permanent even after he fully enters male social world. The outsider builds his nest within the coalition's cluster, no longer isolated on the periphery. He has found his place within the community, modest but real, achieved through patience and strategic alliance building. The forest darkens, the community settles, another day survived. As our journey approaches its end, looking back across the year reveals both change and continuity. The seasons cycled from dry to wet and back to dry, the ancient rhythm continuing unchanged. But the individuals navigated these cycles with intelligence and adaptability, each finding their own path through challenges. The leader maintained his position through another year, his dominance secure but not permanent, his time at the top valuable precisely because it is limited. The strategists supported him loyally, their partnership demonstrating that cooperation can persist, even in competitive hierarchies. The matriarch raised her family successfully, her daughter and grandchild thriving, her lineage continuing. The youngster grew from small juvenile toward capable adolescent, learning skills that will serve him throughout his life. And the outsider transformed from isolated, low-ranking male into member of a stable coalition, achieving modest but meaningful advancement. These stories are individual but also universal, patterns repeated across chimpanzee communities, across primate societies, across social species generally. The details change, the individuals change, but the fundamental dynamics remain constant. Survive, navigate hierarchies, form alliances, raise offspring, adapt to changing conditions. Simple goals that require extraordinary effort and intelligence in execution. The chimps sleep peacefully in their nests, bodies tired from the day's travels, minds resting from constant social calculation. Tomorrow they will wake and continue, traveling and feeding and competing and cooperating, living the only lives they know. They do not think about the year that has passed or contemplate the year ahead. They exist in the present, responding to immediate needs, solving current problems. This is both a limitation and strength. They cannot plan for distant futures or learn from recorded history. But they are also unburdened by regrets about the past or anxiety about what comes next. They live fully in each moment because each moment is all they have. Looking at them sleeping in the trees, it is impossible not to feel both kinship and respect. These are our closest relatives, separated by only 6 million years of evolution. They share our biology, our social complexity, our capacity for both violence and compassion. They are not human, but they are close enough that watching them reveals truths about ourselves. We are primates, social animals shaped by millions of years of group living, competition, and cooperation woven into our fundamental nature. We like to think we have transcended these ancient patterns through culture and technology. But watching chimpanzees navigate their complex social world suggests that we have not transcended so much as elaborated. The same dynamics that govern chimpanzee hierarchies appear in human organizations. The same alliance building that determines chimp success operates in human politics. The same balance between competition and cooperation that chimpanzees must maintain challenges human societies. We are them, with language and tools and accumulated knowledge. But underneath, we remain primates, social animals navigating ancient challenges with sophisticated intelligence. The stars shine above the sleeping chimps, brilliant in the clear, dry season air. The same stars that shone on their ancestors millions of years ago. The same stars that will shine on their descendants millions of years hence, if the world allows. The forest is quiet except for night sounds, the community resting, safe in their trees. They have completed another journey around the sun, survived another cycle of seasons, maintained their community through constant challenges. This is success, measured not in wealth or achievement, but in simple persistence. They are still here, still thriving, still navigating their complex social world with intelligence and adaptability. They will wake tomorrow and continue their journey, as they have done for countless generations, as they will do for countless more. This is their world, beautiful and harsh, challenging and rewarding. This is their life, complicated and messy and brilliant. They are chimpanzees, our closest relatives, remarkable survivors, intelligent social animals who remind us what we are and where we came from. And their story continues day after day, year after year, the ancient patterns persisting, the individuals changing, but the fundamental dynamics remaining constant. They are not thinking about any of this as they sleep. They are simply resting, dreaming whatever dreams chimpanzees dream, their bodies relaxed, their community intact, their survival assured for another day. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities, new moments of cooperation and conflict. But tonight, in this moment, they are safe, they are together, and they are exactly what millions of years of evolution designed them to be. Survivors, thrivers, family. And that is enough. That is everything. That is the whole world contained in this forest, in this community, in these remarkable, complicated, brilliant creatures who share so much with us while remaining entirely themselves. The night deepens, the stars wheel overhead, and the chimpanzees sleep on, peaceful and secure, their year complete, their journey continuing, their story never really ending, but simply pausing until dawn brings another beginning. In the morning, when light returns and the community wakes, they will face another day. The leader will descend first, displaying briefly to remind everyone of his status. The strategist will groom him, their bond unshaken by time or challenge. The matriarch will check on her daughter and grandchild, ensuring her family line remains strong. The youngster will bound off to explore, his energy and curiosity undiminished. And the outsider will travel with his coalition, their alliance providing security that none of them could achieve alone. These patterns will repeat tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. The rhythms of chimpanzee life continuing as they have for millions of years. But within these patterns, infinite variation exists. Every day brings different challenges, different opportunities, different moments of drama or peace. The chimps navigate these variations with remarkable flexibility, adapting strategies to circumstances, learning from experiences, growing wiser with age. This adaptability is their greatest strength, the trait that has allowed their species to survive across changing environments and unpredictable conditions. They are not locked into rigid behaviors, but can modify approaches based on what works. They learn from success and failure, remember what previous experiences taught them, apply lessons to new situations. This is intelligence in its most practical form, not abstract reasoning, but applied problem solving. The kind of intelligence that evolution rewards directly with survival and reproductive success. Looking across the year we have shared with them, certain themes emerge clearly. Hierarchy matters tremendously in chimpanzee society, determining access to resources, mates, and security. But hierarchy is not simple domination by the strongest. It involves intelligence, strategy, alliance building, and personality as much as physical power. The leader maintains his position through combination of all these traits, not through strength alone. Alliances are crucial, providing leverage that individuals lack. The strategist's loyalty to the leader benefits both. The outsider's coalition transforms 3 vulnerable males into a formidable unit. Even female relationships, quieter and less obviously hierarchical, depend on networks of mutual support. No chimpanzee succeeds entirely alone. Family bonds endure across lifetimes, providing foundation for social success. The matriarch's status derives partly from her own abilities, but also from her family connections, built across decades. Her daughter benefits from this lineage, as will her grandchild eventually. Male chimps leave their families to enter competitive hierarchies, but females maintain kinship networks that provide stability and support. Intelligence manifests constantly in tool use, problem solving, social navigation, and strategic thinking. These are not simple creatures following instinct, but complex individuals making calculated decisions based on experience and observation. They understand cause and effect, anticipate consequences, remember past events, and plan immediate future actions. Watching them navigate their world reveals cognitive sophistication that demands respect and recognition. They are capable of more than survival. They engage in activities that suggest curiosity, playfulness, even something like appreciation for their environment. Young chimps play not just to learn skills, but seemingly for enjoyment. Adults rest in beautiful locations, gazing at views, appearing contemplative. These observations are subjective. Projecting human emotions onto non-human animals is always risky, but the behaviors exist regardless of interpretation, suggesting inner lives richer than simple stimulus response. The seasonal cycle that structured our journey reflects larger truth about life in variable environments. Nothing remains constant except change itself. Abundance gives way to scarcity, wet seasons become dry, easy times transition into difficult ones. The chimps do not resist these changes or complain about them. They adapt, adjusting behaviors to match conditions, surviving through flexibility rather than attempting to control what cannot be controlled. This is wisdom that extends beyond chimpanzees to all living things navigating unpredictable worlds. Accepting what cannot be changed while actively managing what can be influenced. The balance between acceptance and action, between patience and initiative, between cooperation and competition. These are the fundamental challenges that life presents, regardless of species. The chimpanzees of Gombe navigate these challenges with grace born of millions of years of evolution. They are perfectly adapted to their environment, not through any single trait, but through combination of physical abilities, cognitive skills, and social sophistication. They represent one of evolution's great successes, a species that has thrived for millions of years through changing conditions. Our year with them has revealed just a tiny slice of their existence. 40 individuals in one community in one forest during 1 year. Across Africa, thousands of chimpanzees live in hundreds of communities, each with their own variations on the basic patterns we have observed. Some communities have different tool use traditions. Some have unique hunting strategies. Some have cultural practices found nowhere else. This diversity within a single species demonstrates the power of learned behavior, of culture transmitted across generations through observation and teaching. Chimpanzees are not merely products of their genes, but also of their traditions, their accumulated knowledge, their cultural inheritance. This makes them even more remarkable, more worthy of study and protection. They are not just intelligent animals, but cultural beings with traditions that can be lost if their communities disappear. Every chimpanzee community that goes extinct takes with it unique knowledge, behaviors, and cultural practices that existed nowhere else. This is loss that extends beyond individual animals to cultural heritage built across generations. As our journey ends, the most important truth to remember is simply this: chimpanzees are our relatives, our cousins in the evolutionary tree. separated from us by only a few million years and a few percentage points of DNA. Looking at them is looking at what we might have been, what we still are in many ways beneath our cultural layers. They show us that intelligence, emotion, social complexity, these are not uniquely human but primate traits, evolved millions of years before humans existed. They remind us that we are part of nature, not separate from it. We are animals, primates, social beings, shaped by evolution just as they are. We have developed technology and language and accumulated knowledge, but underneath we remain creatures navigating ancient challenges with sophisticated intelligence. The chimpanzees sleeping in their nests do not know they have taught us these lessons. They simply live, navigating their world as best they can, using the abilities evolution has given them. But we can learn from them if we watch carefully and think deeply about what their lives reveal. We can see ourselves reflected in their social dramas, their alliances and conflicts, their cooperation and competition. We can recognize that the challenges they face are fundamentally similar to challenges we face, just expressed differently through different capabilities. We can understand that protecting them, preserving their forests, ensuring their survival, this is not just about saving another species. It is about preserving our connection to our evolutionary past, maintaining living links to our origins, protecting relatives who share our fundamental nature. The sun will rise in a few hours, beginning another day for the chimpanzees of Gombe. They will wake and travel and feed and rest, continuing patterns established across millions of years. They will face challenges and find solutions, compete and cooperate, survive and thrive. They will continue being exactly what they are: remarkable, intelligent, social primates navigating complex lives in a challenging world. And we, watching from our different world with our different challenges, can recognize in them something familiar, something that reminds us who we are, where we came from, and what truly matters in the end. Not wealth or status or individual achievement, but survival, connection, family, and the quiet satisfaction of another day successfully navigated. The chimps understand this instinctively. Perhaps we can learn to understand it too, through watching them, learning from them, and recognizing in their lives reflections of our own deepest truths. The night continues, peaceful and quiet. The community sleeps, safe and secure, their year complete, but their journey ongoing. Tomorrow they will wake and begin again, as they always have, as they always will, for as long as the forests stand and the seasons turn. This is their story, but it is also our story, the story of primates navigating the world with intelligence and adaptability, and the stubborn persistence that has allowed our branch of the evolutionary tree to thrive for millions of years. And that story continues day after day, year after year, as long as we ensure these remarkable creatures have the space and protection they need to live their lives. The stars shine on, indifferent and eternal, witnessing one more night in the endless cycle of days and nights that have marked chimpanzee existence since their species emerged. The forest is quiet, the community is at peace, and all is as it should be. This is enough. This is everything. This is the world contained in this moment, perfect and complete.